Hi, I'm Emma Heuston from The Remote Expert. I'm a lawyer that specialises in remote work arrangements. So a lot of my clients, they work from home, they hire remote teams, or they hire remote teams. And I'm presenting a series of 5 videos this week around what you can do if you're forced to implement remote work procedures really quickly as a result of the coronavirus. Now, I have a lot of lawyers in my network and online service businesses who do work remotely, but some of them still have a bricks and mortar office and an in-office team, whether that be in a co-working space or a traditional office arrangement. And subject to the type of work they do, they may still need to see people in person. But we're looking at how they can, especially in the case of public safety, so they may have made the decision now to pull their teams back home and work remotely, or the choice may be taken out of our hands by the end of the week. And this is really important, particularly as there's talk that schools may close during the week. So today's Monday the 16th of March, and in Australia the schools are still open, people are still at the office, but some have chosen to stay home and keep out of harm's way. So I think today, this week I'm going to be doing a series of things. So today is about systems, tools and processes. Tomorrow, the 17th of March, is going to be about productivity tips. Wednesday, the 18th of March, is going to be about mental health and managing a remote workforce, because there's a whole lot of other arrangements. And Thursday and Friday are going to be, that's the 19th and the 20th of March, they're going to be about how, if an area of your business has dried up because it does rely on that in-person service, or the courts aren't sitting, or you're not selling something because the economy's not, kind of stopped. It's going to be about looking at how you can pivot your business. So let's get on with today, which is looking at the systems side of things. And the first thing I want you to think about is, what do you do day to day in your office? Are you paperless? Because if you've still got paper files and someone needs to go to a filing cabinet and pull something out, but you're at home, you're going to be in trouble. You're also going to be in trouble if you've got to share it between employees. So if you do still have time and you're not paperless, I would think ahead about what's the worst case, what's the worst thing that can happen. We all get stuck at home for another 6 weeks. And look at, okay, well, what am I going to be working on? Let's get as much scanned in as we can and available in sort of a central cloud system for everyone to access. And you want to make those preparations now. And you want to have in mind that client confidentiality needs to be secure. So do the privacy rules. So do you have privacy policies? Is there a confidentiality agreement in your staff's contracts? So this is all preparation. And the other bit of preparation you might think about is communication to your clients, to your staff, and to your colleagues. So you might own a business and you might say, okay, I'm just going to work from home. But you need to tell everyone. You need to send an email to say how they're going to contact you, what methods you prefer, your hours of availability. Because working from home doesn't mean laying on the couch and eating Doritos off your chest, although that sounds pretty good, but you're going to want to keep things ticking over. And if you employ staff, you're not going to want them doing that either. So you're going to need all those systems in place. And you also don't want, to be scheduling in-person meetings now and then later in the week having to change it really urgently to a Zoom meeting. You might find when you try and see people on Zoom that they actually need to download the app and they need to know how to connect and, do they have a microphone or a camera on their computer? There needs to be a bit of a bit of notice. So they're ready to go, so they've tested it. So when you get to the meeting, it's not going to be a big flurry, because you want your clients and your colleagues, you want the experience to be just as good as it is in person, if not better. And you might think about too, while you're in this pre-planning mode of office equipment, can staff scan and print things at home, or do you need to put apps on your phone or computer? Can you forward the office number to your mobile or staff's mobile number? Who's going to look after it? Is the receptionist still going to put calls through and send messages? I saw, shout out to Kim Breeze from Breeze Lawyers in Toowoomba. I saw Kim had put a message up yesterday that, perhaps if their receptionist is at work and there are no other staff members or clients there to infect them, that would be a safe place for them to go and operate the phone system and then forward those office lines to people's mobiles. Now, I think that sounds like a really sensible thing, and they've also got the receptionist there to scan documents and things that might be in paper files. And now Breeze Lawyers are in Toowoomba, which is a regional city. That's probably going to be easier with lockdown than, say, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. And you might also put a notification, so send an email out to your email list. Hopefully you've got one. Hopefully you've got a customer relationship manager system or some kind of practice management software where you can have everyone's details, and anyone in your organisation can get in, get documents and get contact details. And you might want to then use those details to send an email out to your clients to tell them what's happening. Reassure them that their very important matter that you're working on is not going to suffer during this time, that they're going to have it soon, that it's going to be on the same timeline, or that their meetings will be online now. So it's important. This is the pre-phase. And then you've got to look at, well, what happens? What happens? I don't just say go home to the employees or stay home. And you might have to do it quickly. It might be a direction from the government. So it's better to be in control of the situation. First of all, you're going to need to look at each individual employee's workspace. So where are they going to be working from? Is that a safe space? And what I recommend is a self-audit. So you could go around and check out their workspaces, but that's not going to be really practical in these times. What I've developed over at the Remote Expert is a workplace health and safety audit where people do an online questionnaire that creates a PDF report. In it is some questions about their workplace. Is it safe? Is it secure? Is it confidential? Are their ergonomics looked after? Are you going to get an insurance claim because they are slumping over on the lounge with a bag of Doritos next to them, doing their work all day? Are you going to get an insurance claim with that? Are they going to get broken into and their laptop stolen? You need to know, there's locks on the windows. If their whole family has been quarantined together, or they've got housemates, are they going to be sitting at the dining room table amongst all these other people with really confidential information? So you need to know what their workspace is and have photos uploaded as well, have that report there. And that's really important for your duty of care as an employer, because with employees, you keep that responsibility. You have workers' compensation insurance, and you may want to check with your insurer that that extends to them at home doing work in these type of arrangements. Most of them will, but don't just assume. That's a risk management thing for you to check on there. And look at getting some kind of self-audit there. And while, if there's not a problem, you won't have a claim. If you do have a claim, at least you can say to your insurer, look, I've looked after my duty of care. These employees, they've got myself, they've done their self-check. I made sure they didn't have loose cords around and all the other list of, ergonomic situations that the audit I've developed looks at. And you would also want to be careful with how you told them to work from home. And if it's going to be a couple of months, then they might jack up when they say come back to the office. They might say, well, I've been working at home really well over the last couple of months. I think this is the way things are. I'm going to stay working from home. And if you want them to come back to the office from a customer service perspective, or you think the team morale is better with them there, I think what you need is sort of a variation to their employment contract to make it clear that this remote work is temporary because of the COVID-19 employment shutdowns, and that afterwards that it's going to be back to the office. There's not going to be any precedent established for them to work remotely. And you might find that, over the next month or two that people do work from home, and in fact they are more productive. They're getting more things done with less distraction, and you might decide that that is something you want to continue. But again, as an employer, you would want to be in control of that. And that's the really important thing to think about. So we're looking at, we're documenting that, but then we've got to look at their setup at home. Will they be taking a laptop home from your office, or will they be logging on with their computer? And that's something really important to think about, because you might have the latest virus, antivirus and anti-malware security on your computer, but at home they may have a computer without any secure connections. They may be stealing their neighbour's free Wi-Fi. And if it's free, it means anyone can hack into it. Or they may be, going down to McDonald's or a cafe using free Wi-Fi, even though they should be at home. And there's a real security risk there. And there's also a security risk in terms of if they've got everything on their own laptop and they're not saving it into the system. Say business goes badly and you're going to have to start making some redundancies. Are you going to be leaving someone who has been working for you with all these documents and things, and then they can take them and start up their own business and perhaps use some of that information? So you really need to be careful about, well, what are they doing? Where are they saving everything? Is it in your cloud-based central system, or have they got things on their desktop? And if you own the hardware and the equipment, it's much easier to look at that and work that out. And you also need to make sure that you've got software systems in place where people can collaborate on documents. So, and that the NBN connection is good. To be honest, the ADSL here in my office was better than the NBN. The NBN's not bad, but it's not as good. So if it's not good, or they don't have access to internet, then you're going to have to make some arrangements there, because without internet, they can't work remotely, and they can't probably go down to a cafe or do something there. So you really need to think about, how you are going to collaborate in real time. So things like Google Docs or the Microsoft Teams app are quite good, and it really depends on all the other systems you've got set up and whether they can integrate together. And a good tip with that is Zapier, or Zapier, as some people call it, to integrate some of those systems together. So for example, I use Dubsado as my customer relationship manager and project management for my files. And I integrate that with Xero through Zapier. So all my accounting is done through Xero. And that way there's not double entry for my VA. So you want to make sure you're cloud-based. If you're not there, then you should be. And, I know a lot of the legal practice management software, if we're talking legal firms, have those cloud-based options there. And then that brings me on to a client experience. issue, and that's that you want to make sure clients have the same or better experience remotely. And my advice to that is don't hide it. So I've actually worked in and around remote work for the last probably 12 years, because when I was working in Sydney at a boutique firm on the North Shore, I was working in the office, but our paralegal had actually moved to Melbourne and kept working. And it was amazing. It was the first reason, I knew that remote work could really work. She was far more efficient than anyone else I'd ever worked with. But we used to kind of say to clients, oh yeah, Tanya works from home. But they thought she lived in Sydney or she wasn't always in the office. And now I look back, I think, why did we worry about that? When I worked remotely at partner level at a firm, people sometimes assumed I worked in Sydney, but I would often tell them where I worked from, and people were happy with that. And I think you can't hide it, really. You want to make sure that they're happy, they know what you're doing. And I would think most clients in these times would be really happy that you are taking those health protections for your staff. And with the clients, as I said before, you want to make sure you've got access to a customer relationship management system, so you can include and add new clients and have a process. If you onboard a new client during the time you're remote working, you need a process. And certainly I know there are lots of lawyers tuning in, and New South Wales is updating the Uniform Professional Rules this month to say, about file opening. And that file opening, that doesn't change. It may not have to be a physical file, it can be an electronic file. You can be paperless. Make sure you've got a really good system in place so nothing falls through the cracks while you're changing systems or doing something a bit different. For some of you, you're already electronic, so it's a matter of moving it, the processes online. It also makes things sharing easier. And make sure too, so look at how they contact you. So is your post, have you filled in online for Australia Post a post forwarding to the address where you're going to be working from home? Have you forwarded your phone lines and other things? You want to make sure that there's just no break in communication of any type. Oh goodness, I'm getting the hiccups. And you want to be available by phone, the same way you would in the office. So even if you're working set hours or you're taking calls at a certain time, putting a message on your email out of office is a really good way to do that, or letting clients know when you send that email, letting them know what the changed circumstances are. Most clients will be really respectful around that, but they need to know when they're going to hear from you, and you need to genuinely follow through with that. And certainly Zoom meetings, you need to think about your background. So they're not going to want baskets of folded washing, or a clothesline with your underpants hanging up behind you. You're going to want a tidy background. So I've got a character by cat behind me. This is my office wall. But if, there's a bit of a trick using Zoom, it's actually got backgrounds. You can put in a fake background if you've got a plain white wall. And that's sometimes a really good way, especially if you don't have a home office set up like I do. You also want to look at where your kids are if you're having Zoom meetings. School's still on today, but it may not be soon. So you need to have a chat to your kids and your partner and work out a good time arrangement. And it could be that they have some quiet time watching a movie, that you make a call then. Or you might even make calls in the evening if the clients are happy with it when you've got your partner home. So you just need to think about that, and you want to make sure lighting is good. You want people to be able to see you. You want to be able to use the camera. They want to know, like, and trust you. They want that face-to-face contact. So I actually have a ring light. You can see it in my character by cat, actually. I have a ring light to light up my face it's really good. It's on a tripod, it sits on my desk, but it also can go anywhere with me. So I could go outside and record a video. Before I got that, that was seriously $65 on Amazon. So it wasn't a huge amount of money, you know, with a proper camera lighting. Before I got that, I used to put a desk lamp behind my computer on some books. And that was to give me that kind of effect during Facebook Lives or webinars. You want to also look at the right equipment. So whether you wear a headset with a microphone or whether you plug in a microphone like I have here. People want to be able to hear you. They want to be able to hear you clearly. And certainly on a webinar with particularly more than two people, you will want to be able to mute when you're not talking. Because even if you're typing notes during a meeting or a webinar, people can hear you typing, and it's really distracting being on a call with that. So it's really good etiquette to mute. And I'm going to talk more about mental health on Wednesday, but it's really important that you keep, you know, I'll just go into it briefly here. It's really important you get up, keep that routine, keep set hours, and keep in touch with your team and colleagues and clients. You can have virtual coffee breaks on Zoom or a chat. If you usually have lunch with someone or go out for a coffee, you need to keep that up, but virtually, because it can be really isolating working from home. And in fact, some people aren't suited to it. So you might find that the employees, that some aren't suited to it, that they will struggle, whereas others might excel. So you've really got to work out their strengths and what they need. As a team leader, when I was managing a team of 5, one of whom was in Germany, I would try and hop on the phone every day with them. I'd see what they had on. I'd have a verbal check-in at least once a day, and then we'd keep track of things through a shared Google Doc. It actually wasn't too complicated. You know, we didn't have complicated project management software, but it worked. It worked for us. So, you know, and that's the thing. I think technology's there. Even a lot of free technology will work for you. So with my VA, I use a Trello board, and that works. And there's other things. I'm going to put some posts up in the lawyer mums group about verification of identity and some legal things about that, and witnessing wills. And I might do a short video just for the lawyers on that, because I do have some questions here around that. Can you witness a will virtually? And how do you verify people's identity and swear declarations? So I've got some thoughts around that, but I'm going to save that for the lawyers specifically, because I know that there are a lot more than lawyers watching this video. So that's me for today. I hope you've got some really good gems, and today is all about planning. Tomorrow is going to be about productivity, more of that, sharing documents, working together. And then Wednesday is going to be about mental health and isolation and coping, especially if you've got kids at home. You know, it's going to be tricky doing that juggle. So if you would like to move to a specific time, if you're interested in having a live webinar, I'm open to that. Please send me a message. I'm going to share with you my socials here, and you can connect to me on my socials here. And that's the Remote Expert on Facebook. I've got a business page. I've also got a group called Rev Up Your Service Business. And to be honest, the group seems to have better reach to its members than the business page. So if you really do want to have access to articles I share, videos, tips, probably the group is the best bet. I'm also on Instagram at The Remote Expert, LinkedIn, Emma Heuston. I also do have The Remote Expert page, and on Twitter at The Remote Expert. So feel free to follow me, and I'm going to be sharing these here and on YouTube as the week goes on. And I think, you know, the key thing is not to panic, to get these arrangements in place and work through it that way. So thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to chat about my passion with you, which is remote working. And please don't hesitate to get in touch if you've got any questions or something you want me to cover later in the week. Thank you, and bye.